What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show Recap with Mo. Well, we're getting ready to get into a brand new episode breakdown of Diarra from Detroit. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 1, episode number 3, titled The One That Got Away. Now the synopsis states, Diarra gets some unexpected support on her quest. Aja makes an influential connection. A scheme to track down Deonte's mom leads to a dangerous rescue mission. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, y'all, so in the previous episode, we saw where Diarra had gone back to go look for Chris at his apartment. Long story short, she doesn't find him, but what she does find is a naked Russian in the closet, right? Now, she sets him free, and without any hesitation, this man is ready to go. Well, before he can leave, she has questions that he doesn't want to obviously answer, so they get into a little bit of a tussle or whatnot over the duffel bag that he has in his hands, and he's able to leave with the duffel bag, but he also leaves, behind a souvenir that has Diarra on a mission to find out more answers, all right? And then from there, we head over to the schoolhouse where we see Diarra and T having a conversation about what happened previously with the whole Russian situation over at the apartment. Whoa. So she's still puzzled about what this souvenir actually is, but then she starts to think about historically what it could be, and who better to answer these questions but the history teacher himself, Mr. Porter. So Mr. Porter is walking down the hallway and she has to go seek him out to find out what's going on. He conveys to her what it is, and then he even slaps her on the behind a little bit, to give her something to grow on, right? So so she was like, look, I don't understand you people, right? So going on from there, we see Aja. Now, Aja is her good friend who has decided to throw this divorce party, but Diarra isn't really feeling it, not at all. But the one thing that came from this party is the DJ behind the bar. Was it the DJ? Somebody at the daggone party knew a little bit more information about that dog tag, just like Mr. Porter did. And she was like, well, I didn't know it was that type of party. So what it did was it made Diarra think about, what the heck is this emblem on this tag? So she looks it up, finds out exactly what it is, calls her homeboy up, T, to come and scoop her up because she's had just about enough of these hags at the crib. So long story short, from there, they go about their merry way to the party where everything is about to go down. So long story short, she finds out where the Russian is. She heads to the spot, finds him in there getting a massage and some other things, which we will not talk about right now, right here. So, they have a good time. She and he, they have good conversation. He's giving her some things to influence her mind, and I guess they're both under the influence, all right? Everybody's having a good time, including her homeboy T as well. Now, long story short, it doesn't end well for the Russian because there's someone else there that takes him out. And once he's gone, Diarra, the whole club, everybody's trying to run up out. T has his homeboy, well, not really his homeboy, somebody he just met, the DJ actually, riding in the car with him. So I'm assuming he's going back to the crib with him or whatnot. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and kick this episode off with Diarra laying on the daggone couch, thinking about Chris and his whereabouts. So she finally, gets up the nerve to actually pick up the device, opens it up, and off the bat, man, she notices a ton of pictures of Chris, including the missing poster sign. So I'm like, dang, so obviously the Russian has been following him for quite some time with all of those daggone images in his phone, right? But not only that, she also found a number in there that had been repeatedly dialed multiple times. So of course she was hesitant about dialing that number back, but of course she was like, well, what the hell? So go ahead and dial it. So she did, right? And when she calls, it just so happens to be a pizza joint. So she was like, well, maybe he just got hungry later on that night. With all the stuff we were doing, maybe that's what it was. No, it wasn't about that, baby girl, but we'll get into that later on. While she's on the phone, she hears a loud ass knock on the door. So, of course, she hides the phone, goes over to the door. It just so happens to be Danger Johnson himself in the flesh, right? So he's still a little peed off about the whole aquarium situation where she came over, hit his aquarium up with an African statue or whatnot, busted it wide open, had the fish out there all on the rug. And you see what I'm saying? So he was a little upset about that, but he decided to allow that to pass, right? Due to his counseling. His counseling sessions have made him a better man. So anyhow, he comes over to pretty much tell her that she needs to calm down with all of that bad energy that she's bringing to the table right now. But not only that, you need to deal with your stuff inwardly instead of being negative outwardly and all of that stuff. Speaking very calmly to Diarra, who really ain't here for it. But the one thing she is for every time these Negroes meet is some daggone food. Because all of a sudden, he's looking at her, she's looking at him, vice versa. All of a sudden, this man is sitting over here making flapjacks. I was like, what in the world is going on? So every time this man comes to this crib, he's over here cooking, doing something in the kitchen, right? So, of course, they have this conversation. He's trying to talk to her about, finding her inner peace, how to deal with those things that she's going through. And I'm going to leave it at that because I know y'all didn't come here to hear about no daggone counseling session with Diarra from Detroit. So going on from there, while she's in the midst of still conversating with him or whatnot, she overhears the bloody phone in the living room ringing. And I was like, oh, hell, who? Is it the pizza place calling back? No, it's not. It actually happens to be Vonda Brooks herself. So, of course, Diarra is not believing what she's hearing. So she asks again, who did you say this was? She says, look, I know who I am. Who the hell are you? I was like, oh, not Claire Hanks. Not Claire. I said, oh, no. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Diarra on the phone with her good friend T and on the computer at the same damn time. Now, T is like, girl, are you good? Are you good from the previous night or whatnot? Diarra's like, look, I've already told you I was good. I actually didn't see anything, which is a lie. So going on from there, T is like, well, by the way, are you coming to our just brunch today? Diarra's like, what brunch are you talking about? He was like, her celebration brunch where she was selected as a member of Detroit's 35 under 35 club, right? So you needs to be there. And she was like, well, she really ain't gonna trip out about it. He was like, look, you need to go ahead and show up before she burns your house down. And she thought about it for a quick second and she said, yeah, let me get up out of here real quick. So going on from there though, we see Diarra now on the street walking with this green jacket on and whatnot. And from the backside, we hear somebody calling out, hey, girl in the green coat. Girl in the green coat. So it just so happens to be Crazy Mooney. Now, I don't know why the hell she yelling in the street with a grocery bag in her hands and whatnot. But she comes up on Diarra. Diarra's like, girl, what do you want? And she was like, look, you do know the guy that you're looking for just so happens to be Deonte Brooks. And as a matter of fact, I've already called the police department to find out what the reward was. And girl, I'm going to let you in on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to help you help me. Because, she got a little bit of financial issues going on with her husband's situation. So she's really trying to find a way out of this. All right? By any means necessary. Even if that means rekindling a relationship with a friend that I once knew. Right? So anyhow, going on from there, Diarra is trying to talk her out of it, but she was like, look, girl, you need some protection. You need somebody that's going to back you up. All right? And, Diarra agrees. She just pretty much conveys to her that she's Diana Ross and she's everybody else. All right? That's what you are, and you need to play the field. All right? And I loved how throughout this whole daggone episode, she called her a different name from the Supremes every daggone time. I think at one time she was calling her daggone and Mary Wilson. I was like, I said, that ain't her name. But anyhow, going on from there, We head over to see Aja giving her own little testimony of what she's done and what it's taken for her to get to this point. And, she's on this spiritual growth right now where she's not giving her body away to anybody outside of her husband. All of those things, right? Which I commend, right? We can have a whole different conversation about that. But anyhow, moving on from there, Mooney and Diarra finally show up to, her brunch and whatnot. Mooney making all of this daggone noise and what, pushing the chair instead of picking it up. She's pushing it up there to the table, being all loud and crap. So anyhow, Diarra keeps the conversation going once Mooney sits down, pretty much conveys to her what they're looking for. And Diarra tells her that the mama is the source of all of this, and we need to find out what she knows and who she knows so we can solve this case. So, long story short, Aja is excited that her friend is there. She's pretty much like, girl, we got a whole slate, ready to go today. We got the spa, we got all of this good stuff going on. And Diarra's like, look, girl, I'm going to have to take a rain check because, unfortunately, my wallet don't work like that because I'm on this, this financial crunch right now. So I will not be able to make it to all of these events. But if you make a reservation over at the restaurant, there's a possibility that I can do that with you. And of course, Aja accepts. She's just super excited to hang out with her girlfriend and whatnot. So anyhow, going on from there, Diarra is like, look, the evidence that we need, she believes, is on Vonda Brooks' phone because that's who called her the other night when, she was over there talking to Danger Johnson or whatnot in the kitchen when he was whipping up them pancakes. So, Mona's like, shit, that ain't no secret. Like, we've already known she was the main suspect in all of this. So that ain't no daggone secret. So anyhow, going on from there, when they get outside though, Diarra sees from afar off her vehicle. Her baby, right? Her Chevy, her SS, and that mug is clean too. So anyhow, when she pulls up, you hear Minnie Riperton playing in the background, back down memory lane, sounding all good, so fresh and so clean as the car is pulling up, and then all of a sudden the song starts to slow. It slows down, man, because there's a woman on the passenger side of the car, and she ain't feeling that because first and foremost, this is my ride. And we find out later on that it was actually her ride that she actually purchased. The only fact is he invested about $50,000 into it. We'll talk about that later. But I just thought that was crazy that, they're going back and forth about this vehicle. He's telling her, well, if it's yours, you should have never left it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And she was like, look, I want my daggone car back. He was like, okay. It is what it is at this point. You're not getting it. That's pretty much what he's telling her. You should have got it when you were there. Now that you're gone, you're definitely not going to get it. So anyhow, going on from there, it takes Mooney, crazy ass Mooney, to support and to assist this woman with getting her mind back on task. This is not your focus right now. We can focus on that later. But right now, we're focused on finding Chris, a.k.a. Deonte Brooks. All right? So from there, we head over to public transportation because that's exactly where we see Diarra and Mooney. Now, Mooney has decided to bring Diarra on the bus so she can sit down with the professor himself in the flesh. So we're talking about, Raj, who we were talking about in the previous episode. He's the professor. Well, not officially because he don't want to talk about the degrees to become the professor. Because he told old girl when she was asking him, was he from an accredited college? He was like, I guess he wasn't finished. But I'm assuming that he also didn't want to have any discussions about his credentials. Because I don't believe he has any. And you know what else? Neither does Diarra. Because Diarra is questioning him like a mug and he don't want to answer the daggone question. So long story short, when they get to asking about Deonte Brooks, the professor pretty much states that there's a lot of layers to that one right there. So he's got to get deep in this discussion to answer the question at hand. But he don't get deep at all. He doesn't really tell them anything. It's a lot more conspiracy than anything. So of course Diarra's like, okay, I've had enough. So Mooney hasn't given up just yet because she was like, okay, then tell me a little bit about his mom. Where can we locate his mother? And he goes on to tell them that you can find Mrs. Brooks, or Miss Brooks rather, in Mexican Town over there at a church that she's using for a front. I was like, oh, hell, like, what's going on? Because obviously the church has been going under renovation for quite a while. And, obviously he believes that she's using it as a front for whatever reason, right? So going on from there, Diarra is like, what a complete waste of time. None of that was true. So Mooney is like, okay, so where do you want to go from here? And you know where they end up at? They end up exactly where the professor told them to go to. They ended up in Mexico town, where they actually were able to locate Miss Vonda herself at the church house. Now, she's getting ready to close down. She's locking the gates or whatnot. And, out of her peripheral, Mooney sees her and she was like, oh my God, that's her right there. Now, they both have been out there for quite a while. They're cold. They're pretty much ready to go home. But once they see her, of course, Mooney, crazy Mooney, by the way, is running straight for Miss Vonda. And when she gets up on Miss Vonda already got that thing ready, right? Now, Diarra is back in the back, and she's like, hold on, wait a minute. Because, already in her mind, she's thinking or perceiving that this woman was the one that had something to do with her son's disappearance, once again, because of the whole situation with the Russians. So she was like, no, I'm a little hesitant about running up on this woman. But when she sees that thing come out, it's like she has this flashback from the situation at the club with the Russian getting popped, right? So anyhow, she was like, oh, okay, so it's two of y'all. And Diarra finally snaps out of it and she comes down and she's like, look, we just wanted to talk to you. And of course, Miss Vonda's like, well, can you swing a bat? She was like, yeah, I can swing a bat. She was like, well, jump in the back of the van. And I was like, okay, where y'all going? Like, y'all don't know Miss Vonda? Now, if you really thinking this woman is the woman you say she is, why in the hell, why are you jumping in the back of the van, right? So anyhow, from there, they get in this van and old girl is driving all over the place. I mean, literally, like, they need to take her daggone driver's license away, y'all, because she's all over the road. Ain't nobody got on the seatbelt in the back. Does she have on the seatbelt? I think she does. But daggone it, they flopping, flipping, and all types of stuff in the back. And she was like, Mooney was like, damn, is she kidnapping us? Like, yeah. Like, you don't know who she is. And now all of a sudden you in the back of her van. And she was like, look, if y'all stick it out with me, I'll tell y'all what y'all want to know. So anyhow, from there, while they're making stops here, there, and everywhere, Diarra's whole point in all of this is to locate the device, find the phone that called her, that the Russian was, responding back and forth with. She wants to know what's on that device so she can go to the next, to the next point in this whole investigation, right? So anyhow, long story short, she ends up finding the device in a drawer in the van. Now, instead of placing the daggone phone in her pocket, instead of doing that, she attempts to look through the device while she's still sitting in the van. And here comes Miss Vonda opening the door, putting her hands out to retrieve the device. And I was like, hell. Because Crazy Mooney had already told her, look, just go ahead and put the phone away. Like, and let's get up out of here, all right? But she doesn't do that. Now, of course, I thought it was over. I thought it was over for the both of them. I thought it was, boom, boom, right? But fortunately for them, she's like, look, I'm good. Like, what podcast y'all with? So she's assuming that these two individuals are some investigative type chicks with a podcast interested in the case that she's been, the prime suspect for many, many years, right? For decades. So she's perceiving that's who they are, but they're not, right? So she was like, look, I'll tell you exactly what you need to know if you go in this little situation with me. And then she throws the device back into the vehicle. So I was like, man, there's no way in the world this woman is guilty if she's doing this. Like, if she had something to hide, she would have definitely did something to these ladies, to keep them from talking. Right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to the bar where we see Aja and T. Now, they are discussing the whole situation about Diarra and how she's just stuck on stupid right now because she's chasing a case that doesn't need to be solved in their eyes, or it's already been solved. Like, the woman is guilty. It is what it is. Now, T is like, look, let's be honest. she needs this adventure right now. Her life, she's going through a divorce, and she needs something to hold on to, right? I was just like, no, we need to end this. And I can't believe that you are prolonging this situation. T is like, no, we just need to chill and allow this course to run its course, right? So anyhow, going on from there, he moves on to her like, look, how much longer are we going to celebrate you and your endeavors? She was like, oh, boo, we just getting started. Yeah, we just getting started, babe. So you might as well get ready. All right. So I was like, yeah, I love her ambition, man. It's good, man. But of course, he got his own ambitions, and he's focused on the dude across the way who just signed a contract with, I guess, the Detroit Lions. I think that's what he stated. So she was like, okay, you do you, I do me. So anyhow, going on from there, though, we head back to Miss Vonda in the killer van, right? So, so Miss Vonda has stepped out of the van to go inside of this pawn shop. Now, Mooney is like, look, girl, it's time to skedaddle. Like, she's in the pawn shop. She's going to be in there for about 1 or 2 minutes. We got good time to get up out of here. So anyhow, long story short, they get into this whole little conversation about, pawning the ring. Mooney is like, so you haven't pawned the ring yet, from your ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband? And of course, she was like, look, don't throw your marriage up in my face, right? And she was like, no, I'm definitely not doing that. But I'm just saying it seemed like you're a little bit jealous. And Diarra's sitting up here like, no, boo, I'm definitely not jealous. Like, I just feel like, oh boy, doesn't deserve my baby. Talking about that vehicle once again. Mona's like, okay, just get over it. But while they're in the midst of their daggone conversation, once again, here comes Miss Vonda, this time with a huge back television, not a flat television. I thought she was saying a flat television. Anyhow, she throws it on Mooney's lap and like, look, y'all go ahead and get to work and stop all of that daggone talking, right? Now, they got into an argument because, what's her name? Diarra had conveyed to her that she invested $50,000 to fix that vehicle up. Now, of course, Mooney felt some type of way about it because she was like, I thought we were girls. So in her mind, she's thinking like, why in the hell would you take that vehicle elsewhere when my husband has this automobile shop right over here? Look, Diarra didn't know. And she tells her like, I didn't know that y'all had bought the shop. So that's the reason why I made that decision, right? So of course, Mooney's in her feelings because hearing the quote of $50,000 in any type of way, it sounds too daggone good to be true, because right now that's what she needs for her husband to get out of this situation that he's in, that the family is in at this point. So $50,000 is a soft point for her right now. So anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the bar where we see T entertaining or attempting to entertain this young guy who's the football player that just signed a new contract with the Detroit Lions, right? So, he's trying, I think his name is, what is his name? Keyshawn. His name is Keyshawn. So Keyshawn is talking to him a little bit about, the past. Obviously, he played in sports as well, so he knew a little bit about him as well. Long story short, Keyshawn is interested in Aja. Now, initially, T thought he was going to be able to holler at old boy, but old boy wanted to holler at Aja. So he sees Aja sitting over here eyeing, Walt over there at the other table, and he was like, oh, he's a little bit too old for you. She was like, no, I'm not even into all of that. I'm just trying to holler at him for some business. So Keyshawn is like, oh, for real, I can introduce you. And he was like, but if you ask me nicely. And of course she does, because she's trying to get over there to where she needs to get to, right? So anyhow, from there, we head back over to see Diarra and Mooney watching Vonda, who is now setting up a grocery basket with goodies, right? She's out there on the basketball court, got it all decorated and everything in the cart. And they like, what in the hell? Like, what is she doing? And Mooney, as she's watching Vonda do this outside, she was like, I thought that's what it was. And she says it's a crackhead trap. And I was like, a crackhead trap? I was like, I've never heard of it. But now I'm glad that you've turned me on to that. All right, Mona? So anyhow, going on from there, we see Vonda gets back into the van. And then she tells them stories about how she used to hook up with the Temptations. The members of the Temptations specifically, by name, right? And I was like, hell to the no, man. So she was like, look, what do y'all want to know? Now, Diarra's like, look, you know, they did have quite a few, you know, changes with the group or whatnot. So are you talking about all the men that were members of the Temptations? And she was like, no, I'm just talking about the original members, right? So they counting on their fingers. So Miss Vonda starts to talk about the Temptations in detail, talking about what they were good at. So she starts talking about Eddie was good with his hands and how Paul was good with his mouth and Melvin was good with his feet. So they were both like, what in the hell was he doing? What was he doing with his feet? And she was like, well, how much time do y'all got? But before she can get into that conversation, Miss Vonda looks out of the window and she sees that someone has taken the bait. So after trailing the bait snatch or whatnot to an official address, Miss Vonda informs the ladies that this is a mission and that there's a young girl that has relapsed. She's inside and we're trying to take her home. So she looks through the window downstairs and she doesn't see her anywhere, right? So she's telling, you know, what's her name? Vonda is telling Diarra to hold on to the bat. I'm going to need you as Batman and Batwoman when we go off into this thing. And old girl is like, look, I got children. I can't really get involved in all of this. So Miss Vonda's like, look, you on firework duty, right? Take the package. When I tell you, put it out there in the middle of the street and you become a distraction. So while Miss Vonda and Diarra are walking around the crib, they looking through the windows to see if they can locate old girl. Now, Miss Vonda is giving, you know, Mooney the signal to go ahead and initiate the next part of the plan, which is actually igniting the fireworks to go off to be, you know, become a distraction for the whole neighborhood and not just that one house. So anyhow, you know, they set off the fireworks. They go into the rooms. They're looking in, looking out, looking to see if they can find somebody, right? So there are some people still in the house. I think at one time Miss Vonda gave a guy some cake. He went on about his business. But they ended up going upstairs and they ended up finding the 15-year-old girl in the bed or whatnot. So as they're trying to collect her, get her up and out, here comes a guy talking about, where y'all taking her? Like, that's my chick over there. And not in those words. And it was like, no, we're getting ready to take her home. And Miss Vonda turns and looks at Diarra like, go ahead and let him have it, talking about with that bat. So I was like, uh-oh, here Batgirl go. So she goes over there, starts to move and swing the bat all over the place, talking about, oh, you want some of this? You want some of this? The old boy's just moving out of the way. She's not really trying to approach him. And I was like, Dad, go on, Diarra. Like, you talk all of this big noise. How in the heck are you going to investigate a case? But you going to end up being the daggone case, right? So anyhow, long story short, Miss Vonda has to do the dirty work her daggone self and knock old girl to the ground. I was like, what in the world? So going on from there, though, we head back over to the bar where we see Aja is now still in conversation with the prominent business owner of Detroit, right? So anyhow, you know, this man is calling her all out of her name. And not in a nasty way. It's sort of like non-important. Like, I really don't need to retain that information. We've all met some of those people. Shit, you may be that person as well. So anyhow, going on from there, she tells him or informs him, look, my name is Aja. And I just so happen to be an entrepreneur. And I own my own salon called The Blowjob. And they caught everybody at the table off guard, including, you know, the guy that brought her over there, daggone it. So anyhow, you know, she tells him that she's also getting ready to set up another establishment and just wanted to get his idea or his take on the whole situation. She gives him an elevator speech, which I thought she started off pretty good. But, you know, oftentimes people, when they have great means, that old saying, time is money, really is what it is. Like, I got time to do this. I got time to do that. What I do not have time for is to listen to your daggone speech. Not right now. Send an email to my assistant. Let's do that. But long story short, getting back to this story, she actually wins the opportunity to sit down with him at another event, one in which she invited him to when she has a grand opening, all right? So I thought that was pretty cool that she could sit down with someone that she admires and someone that can share some intel with her. Now, I'm not sure how much information he's going to convey to her because he doesn't seem like that type. He seems very guarded, but I could be wrong. So I guess we'll find out. But anyhow, going on from there, after meeting with Walt, Aja is super excited about that whole situation. Keyshawn is like, look, let's go ahead and sit down and celebrate. That's a good thing for you, right? She's telling him all these things like, look, I'm not interested in sit down and trying to give you any of my love and none of that. I'm just trying to tell you who I am. I'm celibate. If you can't deal with that, just move the heck on. Oh, boy's like, okay, game on. Now, see, I'm intrigued because I don't know if he's being truthful or not. Just like I don't know if she's being truthful or not. But what we could tell by face value is that they're both being truthful at this standpoint right now in the show. All right? So we're going to leave it at that. So going on from there, we see both Diarra and Mooney watching from a restaurant window, seeing, Miss Vonda returning the 15-year-old daughter back to her loved ones and whatnot. So, of course, Diarra's like, well, maybe I'm making a mistake, or maybe she's trying to make up for the wrongs that she potentially did back in the day. So she hasn't given up just yet on the hope of finding out who did what to who. You see what I'm saying? Y'all know I'm crazy, man. So anyhow, Miss Vonda returns. And when she returns and sits down, Diarra's like, so are you ready? Are you ready to answer these questions, right? So Miss Vonda's like, okay, go ahead and shoot, right? So Diarra's like, has anyone reached out to you pertaining to your son? And Miss Vonda's like, yeah, I got 2 women right now that's been... But all jokes aside, she was like, yes. And she was like, there was the whole situation with the Russian who left a message on her phone stating that, he was a journalist and all of that good stuff and all of that, whoop, 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 right? And she was like, something didn't seem right about him, all right? And, Diarra is like, okay, have you... And she hesitated for a moment. She really wanted to say that I've actually seen your son in the flesh. This man is alive. I went out on a date with him. So I know that he exists. We just don't know where he is because he's lost again, all right? So anyhow, after asking her about, has she thought about her son? Has she seen her son? She was like, I've seen my son for the last 27 years. I've seen him. And they were like, wow, right? And Diarra is like, okay, well, explain to me why you allowed 23 minutes to pass before you actually started looking for your son. She conveys to Diarra that she was wore out that day and just wanted to chill. She just wanted to relax a little bit and just get her mind straight. And she really wanted to check out that new Mary J. Blige CD that just came out. And that's what she really needed in her life at that point in time. So she got away a little bit. And then when she came back to reality, she could not find her son. Her son was gone. So she got up and she started asking people about her son, the whereabouts of her son. Have you seen him? Have you seen him? And you can hear the music back in the background like, oh, I see his face everywhere I go, on the street and even at the picture show. Have you seen him? Yeah, tell me, have you seen him? Oh, I hear his voice as the cold wind blows in the sweet music on my radio. Have you seen him? Yeah, tell me, have you seen him? Doom, 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 boom, boom, boom. Why, oh, why did he have to leave and go away? Hey, hey, oh, y'all know how it go. To having someone to lean on. Now he gone. She can't lean. She can't lean on nobody right now. And for 30 years, she's been looking for this boy. She's been putting the signs up there. And now he's back. He's back, but now he's gone. All right? So, Diarra has no choice but to feel some type of way about the situation. But it is what it is, man. So going on from there, we head back to his crib. Where else can we go, right? So they head back to the crib. And, when they get in there, Mona's like, okay, Diarra, what are we looking for at this point? Like, we've already been here, done that, found the Russian, naked in the closet, he's gone, got the dog tag, all of that good stuff. So what now? So Diarra recalls the conversation that she had with Chris. He stated that he was a great planner, he was a great order taker, he was a great organizer, and all of those good things, right? But not only that, but she also recalled the conversation that she had with his mother, Miss Vonda. Now, Miss Vonda stated that he would hide stuff all over the place as well. So as she's thinking, she's envisioning what he potentially was doing before everything went down. And she envisions him putting this box in the daggone oven, right? So, of course, she was like, let's go to the kitchen. They're going through the cupboards. Now, let's go ahead and look at the oven. For some daggone reason, she wants to go to the oven, right? So when she goes to the oven, they see this box. And inside the box is a ninja daggone turtle backpack with his name boldly written on the top of it. And of course, Mooney and Diarra are super excited. Definitely Mooney, because she knows that there's some money behind that celebration, right? And she was like, we're gonna find his, you see what I'm saying? So going on from there, they go, remember in the episode, to make her feel better, they go and steal her ex or soon to be ex-husband's ride, or her baby as she likes to call it. And they go to the valet, they set a distraction or whatnot, and she goes and takes the key off the bulletin board or whatnot, and the next thing you see them laughing, and then we see a flashback of them sitting in the vehicle, an abandoned vehicle in the parking lot, enjoying each other's company. And it's like old days, old times are here to stay, and we good at it, right? We good friends, we good buddies or whatnot. So going on from there, we see them enjoying the time and driving down the interstate, and then all of a sudden we see this man adjusting his mirror, and he's looking at pictures in his device of Diarra, and he's headed right behind them. And I was like, hell, like, what in the world? Like, this, just when I think they're in the clear, that they're able to do this, this little investigation solely on their own, every time I think that it's somebody in the mist, in the background, that's hidden, that's always lurking, and for some reason they got Diarra on their radar. So that's pretty much it, y'all. I enjoyed the episode. I hope that you guys are enjoying this series as well. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down, all right? I'll talk to you guys soon, and then I'm gonna get caught up. I promise y'all, we're gonna get caught up this week, and we're gonna start throwing in some other things. So talk to you guys soon. Peace.